Right, welcome back to our video series, a video course on Nest. This particular video, in the last video, we spoke a little bit about, well, a good bit about setting up your Nest smart thermostat, scheduling, some of the kind of cool things that you can do with Nest. In this particular video, I want to take a little bit further and talk a little bit about how to improve your experience a little bit, just only some small bits and pieces here that I want to kind of introduce you to. So if we look on the screen here, we can see that we're looking at the particular thermostat here in the bedroom. And there's a couple of areas. First of all, I want to delve a little bit deeper, go under the bonnet for Nest Sense. And there's a couple of little features in there. One is called Auto Weigh and the other one's called Auto Scheduling. The other area which has been recently introduced is a safety temperature, and I find that quite useful and quite important. And also there's a lock mechanism. Without further ado, let's dive in. So everything is enabled. As you can see here, the front screen has got our temperature, etc., inside humidity and temperature levels, schedule which we already looked at in detail. Right, and the history, I suppose, let me just show you history. And as you can see, it's August here in Ireland, and there has been no usage, which is good, which means I save some money. Right, so let's pop up here and let's look at this particular set of options, which is within each. So first up, where is obviously the bedroom, so that's perfectly fine. The away temperature is the temperature that you would set to when you are away, so that determines the value that dictates when you are away. So at the moment I have set that to 7 degrees centigrade. Right, now the next one is Nest Sense, and there's a couple of important parameters in here. First of all, auto away. If you remember in the previous video, we spoke about how to manually set away through both the thermostat and directly on the thermostat or via the app. So here it is. I just want to click onto it here. You can see that it automatically does it. So it uses the algorithms, the powerful algorithms that are contained within the Nest technology to predict and to determine when you are away from home. And then when you return to home, then your schedule gets reactivated. So it's a automation, and it's part of Nest's thoughtful home aspiration, so that there's less and less interactivity with your smart home. That's the whole kind of premise here, right? That's the kind of technology, I suppose, that they're introducing here, is these kind of hands-off type approach. Now the other one I want to talk about here is auto schedule. And auto schedule again learns your behavior, but also adjusts your behavior and your family's behavior to match or closely refine your schedule. So really what it's saying to you is, hi Jared, or hello Olive, this is the kind of temperature we believe, or I believe, Nest believes, is the most comfortable, and you need to train your Nest to get to that particular point. But we are quite comfortable here after using Nest for a while that particular capability exists, and it works quite well once refined and once Nest is allowed to do its job. Now just a couple of more settings here. The time to temperature, we already spoke about that, and that again estimates how long it will take to reach a particular temperature. This is a particular parameter for underfloor type heating, so it determines how long your system takes to heat up. So some of the underfloor heatings, particularly used here in this part of the world, are quite take some time to heat up. Of course, when they're heated up, they stay. Sunblock then obviously tells that Nest is in a particular line of direct sunlight, and which it is not in this particular case, so I'm going to turn that off. And this is the leaf which appears when you adjust your engine. So that is that particular feature. So the key ones here really, right, from an experience and from an enhancement, and more automation. This is what it's all about, is automation, is less interaction with your smart home, and the interaction is kept to a minimal, and all the work is done in the algorithms and the engines behind the Nest system. Now let's look at another area which I want to delve into, and that is the safety temperature. So here obviously heat source, heat type, but safety temperature is here. Now the purpose of the safety temperature, which is a new feature introduced by Nest in the latest release of the software, is it will activate your thermostat or activate your heating in your house even when your thermostat is turned off, to minimize risks from the likes of overheating or cooling or overcooling. Freezing, for instance, is a big issue over in this part of the world. If we do get freezing temperatures, if the house drops to, we'll say, 4 degrees in this particular value, and obviously I can adjust that, then the heat is turned on. And when the heat is turned on, then there's a less likelihood of frozen pipes. All right, so again, you can set that temperature to whichever value you choose to do, right, all the way up to 7 and all the way further down. So we leave it at 4, but you get my point that if the temperature levels drop to 4 degrees, which is pretty cold over here, 0 degrees is freezing point, then you have a risk of frozen pipes. Very, very suitable for rental properties. And indeed, I'm using a Nest in one of my rental properties for that very purpose, right, alone. Now, obviously, if you're using you're in extreme temperature conditions, which is very hot conditions, particularly summer in mainland Europe or in North America or any part of the world, really, temperatures do get up. So what this safety temperature again does is you can set the value that if it reaches a particular upper limit, which might be 25 or maybe 30 degrees centigrade, which would be 70, 80, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, right, then the cooling units are activated. Right, so we will exit out of that particular function and I will go back. Now there's one more, obviously if we go down along here, this includes some technical information about the unit. This allows me to change the centigrade and Fahrenheit. And the last point I want to talk about is lock. Right, so if you have children and you want to prevent them, I suppose, from young children, but prevent them from changing values on your thermostat or adjusting the thermostat, just doing some crazy stuff with it. If we had some people over and if their kids were messing with the thermostat, that could potentially happen as well. So that is a useful thing to be able to do, is to be able to lock your thermostat. And another practical use is we run some smart home installations here. And one of our clients is a nursing home actually. And what we had found was some residents were changing the temperature, right, fairly regular and changing up to very, very high temperatures and causing some major issues with the heating system. And again, something like that, where you feel that there's a need to restrict access to your Nest thermostat, then that is a very useful tool to have. Right, so all those capabilities are also facilitated through the application on your mobile phone, and this is how it looks. So on the bottom left, you pick the gear icon, and as you can see, all the exact same parameters are facilitated and enabled here. So if we pop into Nest Sense, you can see the different parameters that I spoke about on the web. So the exact same, just a slightly different, smaller interface, I suppose. But again, equipment and again, your safety temperature level is there and it is looking fine. So if we kind of go back to the screen, this is how it looks on my own mobile device here. Right, so just to summarize and we revert back, in this particular video I wanted to kind of get across that there are some new features being added all the time. The key ones for me really is the Nest Sense and that algorithm starting to use the automation side of things. Google or Nest has a vision of the thoughtful home, and this is the early building blocks of that when you walk in, that their interaction with the house is kept to a minimal and the house knows what you want and where you want and how you want it. So these are the building blocks. Right, and they're enabled through the auto wait and auto scheduling functions. I do expect more features down the road with that. The safety temperature we spoke about in detail and the benefits of using safety temperature in climates that are susceptible to extreme frozen temperatures, and which prevents, if it does occur and your thermostat is set to off, it will override that and it will reactivate heating systems, thus preventing frozen pipes, for instance. And obviously the opposite applies for hot temperatures, and kicking in the cooling system with high temperatures can be very, very dangerous, particularly for the elderly people. And then the last one I wanted to mention was the locking features. So you can control access to your thermostat, very suitable for maybe a nursing home or an independent living place, or maybe it could be potentially used if you've got young children around the house, or simply just a rental property, for instance. You may want to restrict access, etc., for accessing some features within your Nest thermostat. Right, okay, so thank you very much again for staying with me on this, and we will move along to the next video very, very soon. Take care and slán.